Hello everyone and welcome back. My name's dustinkreis and today we're going to do a game discussion and we're going to talk about a game that I put a lot of time into, and surprisingly that I put a lot of time into it because I was not expecting the game to be this big. And the game we're going to discuss today is Final Fantasy Dimensions for the iOS platform. And if you have a droid and you're getting a little miffed about this game not coming out, I feel your pain. I know a lot of people out there that have droids. Supposedly the droid version is coming, but right now it is an iOS exclusive. And I gotta tell you what, guys, for everybody out there who feels like Final Fantasy is missing something nowadays, you need to go out and get this game. Yes, there is a bit of sticker shock in buying a $30 iOS game. But there's two ways you can really buy it. You can either buy it outright like I did for $30 and get the entire game at once, or you can sort of parse it out a little bit. The prologue is free. The first chapter is like $3, the second chapter is like $7, and then chapters 3 and 4 are $10 each. So, you can parse it out a little bit if you think that's too expensive. But I'm here to tell you that $30 is well worth it. And I think that we're starting to see the beginnings of where the digital platforming is going to be going. Because here's the thing, we're all used to these dollar games on iOS and stuff. And as this becomes the dominant form of getting games, guess what? Those games aren't going to stay that price. Just look at like the drug market. These drug pushers, they sell you these things, these drugs for really cheap, and they start cranking up the price once you get addicted. So I really feel like that's the way that digital distribution is going to go. The days of the dollar iPad games are really going to be coming to an end because a lot of other developers are going to be coming in and making these games, and once other companies like Square Enix start pumping out these games, they're not going to stay that price. So, but anyway, I actually consider this game to be a deal because for $30 I got almost 60 hours of gameplay out of this game, and I did do a bit of grinding, but for the most part that's just the length of the game. It's going to be about a 40 to 50 hour game, and if you start grinding out stuff, it can be longer. So there is that. But let's go ahead and get into it and talk about this a little bit. And let's start off with the story. And this is a classic Final Fantasy story. Final Fantasy games have gotten a bit convoluted here recently, and this is a really great throwback to sort of the Super Nintendo era. I would say that the storyline falls somewhere between 4 and 6. It's a little bit better. I find it's a little bit better than 4, but it does not approach the sort of the awesomeness that 6 was. It's definitely better than 5, though. 5 had a very bare-bones story, and actually 4 has a very bare-bones story, too, when you go back and actually play the original game. I think a lot of people put their own emphasis on the storyline, but when I would go back and I play that game, I'm like, wow, this is actually a really simple story. And that's what Dimensions is. It presents a very simple story of basically 8 kids who inadvertently gets pulled into this nefarious plot to separate the world into 2 worlds, light and darkness. And it's up to them to sort of bring the 2 worlds back together and try to save the world. And you have the crystals in there, you have the job system, you have chocobos, airships. I mean, it's everything that we kind of complained about that was not in Final Fantasy 13. So other than that, I'm not going to talk about the storyline too much. I will say that in typical Final Fantasy, some characters get more time in the light than others. But for the most part, I found all of the characters to be very enjoyable. You have characters like Noct, who is your typical brooding Final Fantasy hero. You have Soul, who's sort of the overly enthusiastic, we're going to do it, sort of hero, and so on and so forth. So you kind of have all the tropes of the Final Fantasy characters in this party. But yeah, very good. But it's not going to light your soul on fire. You know what I mean? It's not going to be like playing 6 or 7 for the first time. You're just going to sit there and really enjoy it, and you're going to enjoy a lot of throwbacks to earlier Final Fantasies. A lot of sort of what's the word I'm looking for? I don't know. I can't think. Throwbacks to these older games. And it's really kind of, I don't want to talk about them because it's really kind of enjoyable when you come across them. You're like, oh, I remember that from that game. And they're referencing that game. They even reference modern games with like Skyrim. One NPC that you talk to, he will tell you about how he used to be a adventurer until he took a ... Oh, you wouldn't care to hear about that. Which I found really funny because that adventurer thing got just overplayed back in the day. Back in the day, like, what, 7 months ago? But yeah, storyline very enjoyable, very nostalgic, but it's not going to set your pants on fire. It's not going to break new ground. Gameplay. Now here's where I can talk about this game for a while, because this brings back one of the greatest things that Final Fantasy ever did, which is the job system. And I personally love the job system in Final Fantasies. I can sit there and grind out job levels and mix and match stats and abilities until I'm blue in the face. And I really enjoyed this particular version of the job system. And it starts off giving you like, I want to say like 8 jobs at the beginning. And these are your typical ones like warrior, thief, black mage, white mage, all that kind of stuff. And then as you progress through the game, each big chapter is made up of little like sub-chapters, because remember, this was a mobile game. And when you think about it, don't think the after years, because this is a lot more, it feels a lot more like a full game than the after years did. The after years really did feel like this is just a bunch of little games put together to make a big game. This really does feel like its own complete game. So in each big chapter, you have a bunch of little chapters that jump back and forth between the Warriors of Light and the Warriors of Darkness. And, each individual team gets separate jobs. So the Warriors of Light gets like Dragoon, they get, what else do they get? They get like a Seer, and they get a job called a Memorist. And I'm going to talk about the Memorist job for a second, because this job, if you use it correctly, is absolutely insane. But it takes a lot of pre-planning. And if you mess up, it's okay, because later on you can sort of switch things around. But basically what the Memorist is, it's kind of like the Mime from Final Fantasy V in a way. And the Memorist has 2 skills, and only 2 skills. One of them is called Memorandum, and one of them is called Recollect. Memorandum, you select, and it brings up a bunch of random, random abilities, like white magic, black magic. The cool thing about this is whoever's in your party, so let's say you have a white mage with up to level 8 magic, that other character that has Memorandum can use that level 8 magic. It uses the strongest version of whatever ability is currently in that party and equipped. So that can actually be really awesome if you use it right. Kind of like Go-Go back in Final Fantasy VI. If you really used him correctly, he could be absolutely devastating. The other thing is a bit weird, and it's called Recollect. And a Memorist, actually, their stats do not go up with leveling. The only way you can raise stats is by finding these things called memories around the world. And you have to have a Memorist in the party to see these memories on the world map. And you'll definitely see them. There'll be these little sparkly things on the world map. You collect these, and then you use them, and they raise whatever stat you assign them to. So what I did with this job is I took a character like Sarah, who has very awesome baseline stats. I made her max out Memorist so I can learn Recollect. Then I had her max out Paladin so she could be like a defensive powerhouse and cast Mighty Guard. So what I did with the Recollect, I equipped that, and then I put everything into strength, speed, and vitality. So she could deal damage, she could take damage, and she was really fast, so I could use Mighty Guard right at the beginning of any major battle. And I tell you what, guys, that saved my bacon quite a bit, being able to just Mighty Guard right off the bat. So if you do some pre-planning with the Memorist, you can actually make a really powerful character like that. You can make a really powerful fighter. You can make a really powerful mage. It's just all in how you want to spend those points. And if you spend those points early in the game and you decide you want to do something different, later on you do get the chance to rearrange them around. So you're not stuck with that. But anyway, kind of got off on track there, but that Memorist job kind of blew me away when I realized what you could actually do with it. But you get these jobs, and each job has a set number of levels that you can learn. It's 3. And then as you progress through the game at various points, you get more job points that you can put towards these levels. So, like, let's say you max out Warrior at 3 of 3. So you get these job points. You can then raise the job level to 4, to 5, and then you're 3 of 5, and you can learn more. The maximum for each job is 20. And while you will get an abundance of points, you should really start planning early about how you want to build these things. Because if you guys want to build powerful mages, you have to master a job that you wouldn't normally think you have to master, and that's Red Mage, because you want his ability to dual cast, and you get that at level 20. So make sure you max those out early in the game so you can get that dual cast, and then have your black and white mages dual cast spells. So you really want to go through and kind of see what job has what abilities, because you can make some ridiculously powerful parties. Like my final party was, I had Soul as a Dragoon who had two-handed, so he's gripping his weapon with 2 hands, and some other stat boosting things, and he was dealing out some massive damage. Like when he would do a jump, he'd deal out like 7,000 damage. Then I had Dusk as a Seer with dual casting and mental discipline. So he was dual casting spells, but he had mental discipline, which cut the spell cost in half. So for the price of 1 spell, I was getting 2. I did the same thing with Alba, only had her as a Magus. So she was casting black spells as that way. And I already told you what I did with Sarah. She was in the party. And finally, my favorite job that I created, I had Noct be a Dark Knight that was dual-wielding dark swords and had the ability to throw shurikens. And he devastated, because when he wasn't attacking, I'd use my Dark Blade, which would have 2 strikes. And there's this really powerful Dark Blade spell you get at level 20. That when you dual strike, it's just like, what the hell am I doing? It just kills everything. And then the ability to throw shurikens, as we all know in Final Fantasy, shurikens deal massive damage. So he was just, he was just a bulldozer. So, like I said, I spent almost 60 hours, and by the end of the game, I had my team leveled up ridiculously high. So the end of the game wasn't that difficult, but I really felt satisfied going into these final battles and just tearing it up. Ball and Nick was talking about his Final Fantasy VI adventure, where by the end of the game he felt overpowered and was able to just breeze through the final boss. And I was kind of like that with Final Fantasy VI too. I had all the characters, all of them, learn Ultima. So I just sat there against Kefka and just spam Ultima. And especially with Go-Go and having him being able to dual cast. It was 5 Ultimas each turn, so it was pretty easy to beat the end of the game. But she's talking really loud up there. I don't know if that came through on the thing, but yeah. But anyway, guys, this is a classic Final Fantasy. If you played Final Fantasy the After Years or any of the Super Nintendo Final Fantasies, you will be able to jump into this very easily. The only problem I had with the gameplay is the touchscreen. And this is really only thing, it's not game breaking, it's just kind of an annoyance. The digital D-pad doesn't always register when you're moving to a different direction right on the fly. So oftentimes you'll walk past the door or you'll walk past the opening in a hallway or something. And while this isn't a big thing, it is kind of a small frustration because it'll often throw you into an extra random battle. But since this has a job system, every random battle means your people are getting stronger and stronger. So there's also a way that you can set the game to play in auto. So when you go into random battles, it speeds the battles up. All your characters just physical attack. And this is a great way to grind out levels. And it's also, if you don't pay attention to your HP while it's on, it's a great way to die. Enemies like to use a lot of multi-hit spells that hit hard. So your entire team is going to get hit and get hit hard. It's very important to have somebody in your team at all time that can cast high-level white magic. So be advised, you're going to want to heal quite a bit because these monsters aren't screwing around. But like I said, classic Final Fantasy. And for everybody out there that thinks the new Final Fantasies are missing something, you really need to get this. The graphics, what can you say about the graphics? If you've played the After Years, you know what the graphics look like. That very updated 16-bit style. I mean, it looks, you look at it, and honest to God, it looks like Final Fantasy VI in HD. The color palette is a bit brighter than 6, but just seeing a character stand on the world map, and they have that that Final Fantasy sad eyes, as I call it. All the females in Final Fantasy have sad eyes, it looks like. It's just like, wow, this has taken me so back to playing the Super Nintendo. And finally, let's talk about the music. There are some tracks on here that I think stand with the rest of the Final Fantasy canon of music. The overworld theme in the World of Light is fantastic. The song that plays over the end credits, I really love that as well. There are some grating songs. Mostly they happen in the World of Darkness for some reason. The World of Light has better music than the World of Darkness. And every now and then, you will have a classic Uematsu track. Of course, it's rearranged for the new game, but you'll have that kind of sneak in. And it's really nice to have that. I'm really hoping that it's not picking up, because she's up there yelling at somebody on the phone. It's really nice to have those classic Uematsu tracks on the game. So the only thing, one thing I should tell you about, it does have an arranged soundtrack, but if you want to, you can go into the config screen and change it to play chip tunes, which unfortunately is kind of grating because it is 8-bit chip tunes. But for you guys that like the classic experience, there you go. You can have the classic chiptunes. So, yeah, guys, in summation, I never thought that I was going to like Final Fantasy Dimensions as much as I did. But I'm here to tell you that it stands up to the rest of the Final Fantasies. And I very well might have enjoyed it more than I enjoyed 13-2. And this is like, for me, this is one of the best Final Fantasies since 9. Really had a great time with it. It really made me feel a lot of nostalgic feelings for the series that I haven't felt in a very long time. And it's really making me hungry to go back and finish 5. Because I've played 5 multiple times, but I've just never got around to finishing it. Because for some reason, I always want to be a completionist with the job system. And now that I'm hungry for a job system game again. So 5 might be coming up here sometime soon. But next, we're going to be tackling the English version of Ys 4 on the PC Engine. So if you're an Ys fan, look forward to that. Hopefully it'll be up here pretty quick, because the Ys games are usually pretty short. But that's all I have for Final Fantasy Dimensions. Don't get sticker shock. If you have an iOS device, specifically an iPad, you really kind of want to play this on an iPad and not on an iPhone, because the screen would just be too small and your thumb's covering everything up. But if you have an iPad, go out and get this game. It looks fantastic on the iPad 3. It plays fantastic. It just feels like Final Fantasy A, used to, and B, should now. So yeah, guys. I mean, if it was Final Fantasy 15, I would not feel gypped at all. And that's some pretty high praise. So anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. Take care. I'll see you next time.